So in the last video, we derived this demand curve. We had an auction for a good. We said if the price gets pushed from 10 cents to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 cents, the quantity demanded is going to subsequently fall from 20 to 15 to 10 to 5 to 0. And then we graphed that and we showed the relationship between the price and the quantity. And we ended the last video talking about that these are inside factors. These are factors inside the model. But are there things outside of that? And so you can brainstorm for a moment some things outside of price that would change your demand for a good. So think about it for a moment. What would change your demand for a good even though the price didn't change at all? What would change your demand for a good even though the price didn't change at all? Well, let's think of something. Let's use our Coke example. So what might change your demand for Coke even though price is remaining constant? Price is fixed, let's say. All right, well, what if something about Pepsi changed? Okay, what if Pepsi became more expensive? So what if the price, not of Coke, but of Pepsi went up? What do you assume is going to happen to Coke if the price of Pepsi goes up? Well, in my mind, I assume that more people are going to buy Coke, right? People aren't going to buy Pepsi as much, they're going to buy Coke. But nothing about Coke changed, right? Remember, nothing about Coke changed. So that's some sort of outside factor that's changing people's demand for Coke. What if people just had more money to spend and they decided to spend that money on things that they don't normally buy, things that that are a little maybe outside of their normal budget to buy? They don't have to buy a lot of Pepsi. It's not an essential good for them. It's kind of a luxury maybe, and so they don't normally buy Coke. But they have more income now, and so they decide to buy Coke. Nothing changed about Coke, but people are buying more of it because they have more money. And so all of these things, these are things that might change. What about during the Super Bowl? Super Bowl is coming up. What do people tend to do in preparation for the Super Bowl? Well, if they're going to have a Super Bowl party, they're going to buy a bunch of things that people want. And so they go to the store and they buy Coke. And maybe more Coke is bought around the Super Bowl because people are preparing for parties kind of all around the country. So nothing changed about Coke, but yet people are buying more of it. So we have kind of this list of outside factors. So one more time, what we mean by outside factors are not factors within the model, which are price and quantity, that would change the demand of a good. All right? So let's be a little bit more specific in our list, and then we'll show how that might impact a demand curve. So our list is more formally the following things. These are called the shifters, right? Or these are the determinants, more specifically, the determinants. They determine, they help influence demand, or they shift the curve, which we'll look at in just a moment. And the shifters are population, right? So the number of people. More people means more demand typically for a good. The second one is income. All right, now this is a little bit tricky, and it's very important to understand how income might influence different types of goods differently. All right, so there are two different types of goods that we want to make sure that we define between. There are what we call normal goods, and there are what we call inferior goods. So let's use Coke as an example, and then let's use some sort of alternative, like Dr. Wright or something like that. I don't even know what Dr. Wright is, but let's say it's a made-up alternative to Coke, kind of a knockoff brand, like a Walmart special for half the price of Coke, right? So if people's income goes up, which of these two types of goods do you think they're going to buy more of? Are they going to buy more of a normal good or more of an inferior good if they have more income? Well, what the data will show us is that normal goods are going to increase, but inferior goods are going to decrease. right? So when your income goes up, imagine you win the lottery. What types of goods are you going to buy? Inferior goods or normal goods? Well, you're going to shift your consumption to normal goods, and you're going to buy less inferior goods. All right, and this happens, you can go vice versa with this. Let's say your income goes down, right? So if your income went down, which of these two types of goods are you going to buy more of? Well, in this scenario, you're going to buy less normal goods, and you're going to buy more inferior goods. Okay, you're going to buy more of the cheaper goods, the knockoff goods, the goods that you can find at half the price, those sorts of things on sale a lot of the time. So that income, it's going to say, you're going to have to say, well, I don't know, what type of good is it? Is it a normal good or is it an inferior good? Okay, so that one doesn't always go in the same direction. The third one, all right, so the third one is if there's an expected change. Okay, expected change. So think of it like this. Let's say there's a sale coming up on the weekend, on Saturday, Sunday. Okay, but today is Friday. All right, so today is Friday. But you see this sale coming in the future. So how does that impact your demand or how much you want to buy of the good right now? So how much Coke are you going to buy today? How much Coke are you going to buy today if you expect there to be a sale tomorrow? Well, today you're not going to buy any, right? But nothing changed about Coke, but an expectation changed, all right? An expectation. The fourth one. The fourth one has to do with people's tastes. All right. Sometimes advertisements. Why do they run ads during the Super Bowl? Well, they want people to buy their good. And it might change people's preferences for different things. It might change the popularity of a good. Okay. Sometimes there are fads that things go in and out of popularity. All right. So these sorts of changes are going to change the demand for a good. All right. And the last one. The last one is related goods. And again, there are two types of related goods. We pointed out some of the related goods before where we're talking about Pepsi, right? Why do we bring up Pepsi? Well, Pepsi is a substitute good. So imagine it like this. So what happens to Coke if Pepsi, which we're going to call a substitute good, goes up in price? Okay, so if the price of Pepsi goes up, what happens to Coke? Well, price of Pepsi goes up. I'm not going to buy as much Pepsi. I'm going to buy Coke, right? So the demand for Coke goes up, right? So substitute. That's how a substitute works. Well, what about a complement? Right? So a complementary good. So a complementary good is something like, let's say you buy Coke and you buy bags of ice, let's just say for your Super Bowl party, or Coke and chips or something like that. Well, why don't we use chips as our example, right? So you don't either buy Coke and chips. You don't either buy Coke or chips. You typically buy Coke and chips. Okay, so what happens if the price of chips goes up? So, right, as chips are more expensive, I normally buy chips and Coke together. I have to buy them together. They go together. They're complements. So if chips are more expensive, I don't buy as many chips, and therefore I don't buy as much Coke. Right? So complements work in that sort of direction. I'm not substituting one for the other. I'm buying both of them together. So these are called the determinants of the demand curve. And what they're going to do is they're going to change the whole model. All right? So what I'm going to pick up in the next video is how do I graph this? How do I show these changes, these shifters in demand?